What a wonderful.
Hi guys, and welcome to Real. We just had the biggest shit show. We're like having a laughing moment. Hi guys, welcome back to Real. I am here with two great friends of mine, Carly Silverman and Ilana Dunn. You might know them from Life in Progress or Seeing Other People podcasts, and I am so excited to have them here with me today.
Guys, that was so good. That was so
Thank
good.
you.
That
was my second time doing that, so
we just recorded, I want to say like
5 minutes?
5, 6, 7 minutes.
Amazing 5, 6, 7 minutes.
Yeah.
Good shit.
Like
some good shit.
Really good shit. And then Ilana over here noticed that Carly forgot to press the
That's the
record
most
button.
Carly thing ever, too. Like, I'm sorry. I should not be trusted to have a podcast. I think this is my first and last day.
Well, here's the real problem is this is your third podcast.
Yeah.
This is your first podcast. This is my third podcast.
Uh-huh.
How many podcast hosts who have hosted multiple podcasts does it take to press record on the microphone?
Yeah, I know. I don't know why. I feel like, especially with you, I feel like you're the leader here.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, all right.
I
Like,
usually
think-
sit back.
Yeah,
I do
I'm like,
nothing.
Alana's got it. Like, it's
Got it.
fine. Anyways. Now that we like kind of have our shit together. Okay, I wanted you guys to go into before I like repeat it again. Say what you were saying to me.
Okay.
Basically, I was telling them to intro themselves, and now continue.
Okay, so again, Carly, before I intro myself,
Yeah, come and hit me up.
I wanted to face-to-face thank you because I got some awesome therapy clients who literally came to me and said, I saw you from Carly Weinstein's story.
Oh my god!
And it really warms my heart.
Because I have all the mentally ill people.
No, you have my like ideal demo of just
Sorry,
like,
guys, it's all of us.
we're all the same. Anyway, hi guys, I'm Carly. What do? I hate this question because I don't know where to start. But I guess first and foremost, I am a podcast host with Ilana. We host a podcast called, I almost just said Life in Progress. I mean,
That is what it's called.
That's what it's called.
I almost just said Seeing Other.
That's by the way, you know, in the first intro, that's why I screwed up because I was gonna say Seeing Other People and then Life in Progress as
She's
hers.
only been on 5 episodes. She may as well be co-host at this point.
Okay. I am podcast host with Ilana Dunn on Life in Progress. That's one of my things. I'm also a therapist in New York City, even though I live in Florida. And I am also a content creator on that TikTok app.
Good job.
Great.
Thank you. See, I hate the intros too.
I know, but you did a good job.
Thanks.
Hi, I'm Ilana Dunn. I also co-host the podcast Life in Progress with Carly Silverman here. I'm also the host of the dating and relationships podcast Seeing Other People. And I'm a dating expert, content creator, dog mom, friend of the Carlys, fellow mentally ill human, all the things.
I'm like, I'm so glad that that's the audience I attract because it's all I could ever want. Nobody else, anyone like sane just wouldn't understand the content.
No, and that's like why we do this, right?
Yeah.
Like we put it out to connect with people who will actually resonate with the shit we're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
It's so true.
Something you said on our last intro.
But
Oh
God.
that I really liked was we are the same in different fonts.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I want to re-say that.
Say it again.
Right now.
Here, I'm giving you the
We're the
option.
same. No, seriously, guys, this is really true. We are the same in different fonts. Like, I was talking to my mom before this, and I was explaining to her, like, about you guys and, like, that you're coming on. I was like, their, like, demographic and, like, who they are as people. Like, you guys are me. We're all the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And also, like, the type of people that you are. Like, I think it's very rare to find, like, we're, like, literally the same. Like, the Jewish, but, like, doesn't care to be, like, jappy or in the scene. Just, like, down to earth, but, like, go-getters. Like, I don't know. I think we have a lot.
It's interesting because we became friends. I think it was we met at a Locks Club event.
Yeah, wanted to get into that, too. Like, how did we all meet?
Yeah, so we met through a Locks Club event, and I was gonna say I think it's really rare. There's so many people meeting on social media, and it's really rare to form actual deep connections.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, I was driving in my car, and I was going through some friendship shit, and I was sending you a voice note, and that was the first time me and you like really connected on something, and you're like, listen. And we just like had this whole like voice note back and forth, and it was really cool. It's like, wow, like we're the same people. And obviously Ilana, like same, she fits into that as well.
Yeah.
So it's cool to actually connect with people through social media.
It is true. And also like I've met a lot of people through social media where I could be friends with them for years and I feel like it stays very surface.
Yeah.
And with you guys, it's so funny because I feel like from the second I met you guys, we just got right to like
100%.
Didn't
the
skip a beat,
nitty-gritty,
dove right in.
everything. Yeah. And that's like how like I very much am. Like as a person, I like to be surrounded by that.
Yeah.
So it's like nice when you can meet other people that like, you know, their intentions are pure and they're just like fun. You guys are just fun people and like, I don't know. So yeah, it is funny because I think we're all very much
we are.
Yeah.
We
the
are the
same.
same.
I feel like, and this goes for both of you, a huge thing I learned in my 20s was I spent so much time surrounding myself with people where after I would get lunch with them, get dinner with them, do whatever with them, I would leave and I would feel like deflated and I would feel like, oh, are they like talking shit about me or like are they analyzing something I said? And with the two of you, even like the first time we met, we got lunch, the three of us, right? I left and I was like, wow, I feel so amped up. I feel so good after that. Like she gets me, I get her. Like this is such a positive experience. And I've spent years trying to now gravitate towards people who make me feel that way.
Yeah. No, that was going to be something that I asked about. Like, what were your guys' friendships like before you moved and before, like, when you were still in college? Like, what were kind of, what role did you play in the friend group? Or, like, did you have a group? Like, what was that? What was the dynamic like?
Yeah, I can start. I felt like I went through the same situation 10 different times in my life, all starting when I was like 10 years old in Jewish summer camp. I always felt like I was in this group, yet I was on the outside of the group or I was at the lowest totem pole of the group. So you could look in and be like, oh, that girl is in the popular crew. But I didn't feel that way because I always felt at the bottom. And in every group situation I had, it was camp, literally when I was 10 years old. Then it was middle school, high school, college, and even post-grad, I felt this way. I was always in this group, and for some reason, I was always at the goddamn bottom, and it sucked. And this is the first year of my life where I'm actually not in a group of friends, and I've never been happier. I've never had less friendship anxiety, and I feel like there are so many people who stay in these girl groups because they feel like they need to, and they almost feel like they have to put on a show when really they're not serving them. They're just in those groups because they were in them from college or high school. It's like, if they're not serving you, get out of it. There's a million people in this world that are great friends and you just have to find the right ones. But it took me a very long time to be okay with that.
It's interesting what you say about like the totem pole thing because I never thought of it that way, but that's kind of how I always felt too. Like at camp, like all the same things. It's like people would look at you and always be like, oh, she's in like the cool group, but you always felt like a loser within that.
Yeah. Like you were never, or at least I was never the one that was chosen in that group.
Me too. I always felt like that too. Like the last pick or like the one that like wasn't seen. I never felt seen my whole life, which is it's so weird because like, again, with all of us, I feel like we're very like we're outgoing people and we're like friendly people, but it's a weird feeling because we're such individuals, it's easy to be like overlooked. It's almost easier when you're in a friend group or you have like, let's say like you and a bestie, like for people to see you more. I don't know. I always felt like that feeling of not being seen.
Yeah.
When do you think that changed for you? Like when do you feel like you started feeling seen?
Like after college, like post-college literally. And honestly, well, like what you said, like not until recently. Like it's so crazy because I feel like anytime I was in those like groups or in the, like I remember being at pre-games in college and feeling like everyone was talking and everyone was laughing about the same jokes and everyone was singing the same songs and I didn't know the lyrics and I didn't know the jokes and I felt like so alone. Like I was just like, I'm texting on my phone, like I'm with these people, but I'm like by myself. And like no one would care if I lived or died. Like I genuinely felt like that.
I did too. And it's such a shitty feeling. And there's so many girls that feel that way that don't know how to express that. And they don't know how to get themselves out of it. And that's why I think obviously like what we're putting out there is so important. And it's hard to be vulnerable about it. It's hard to say, hey, yeah, I've been treated like absolute shit.
Yeah.
But there's the other side of it.
And it's really hard to see in the moment too. Like, you know, you're being treated like shit, but you think that's just like how the world works or like how it is.
Yeah.
And it's so sad to think that. It's so sad to think like, oh, well, everyone has friends that backstab them or that make them feel like they're completely alone even with their entire friend group.
You should never, and this is something I realized this year, you should never have to feel like you're walking on eggshells with somebody. And that was for me the biggest trigger of maybe these people just aren't my friends.
Yeah. Like you shouldn't have to feel like you can't be yourself around someone or be silly or like say something just like to say a stream of thought that you're having. Like it should never feel like that. Yeah. What about you? What was like your dynamic like?
I feel like throughout my life there were times where I was in friend groups, but the majority of the people in those friend groups weren't my close friends, and my closest friends were from all different groups. Like my whole life I felt like maybe I was in group chats and I'd be invited to certain things at certain people's houses or whatever, but my core like 5 closest friends, they were from completely different worlds. Camp, a summer program, college, a sport, et cetera, et cetera. And I actually loved that. Like even in college, I had my best friends in my sorority, but then I stayed best friends with some of my people from my dorm freshman year who were in completely different sororities or not a sorority at all. And I loved having different worlds to pop in and out of. I loved getting to peek into like their worlds and be friends with their friends and just have different options of things to do. That being said, there were definitely times where I felt like, oh my God, like everyone has plans except for me. Like I am being like, no one wants to choose me. And I definitely looked at the popular girls in every aspect of my life being like, wow, if only I could like fit in like that. If only like they thought I was cool enough and wanted me to be around.
And it's almost like by default too. Like I think with a lot of friend groups, it's just like, it's just the easy route to like, oh, we're having plans tonight. You just write it in the group chat. No one's like thinking outside.
Yeah.
Someone asked me the other day if I could give myself, who was just graduating and moving to the city, any advice. What would it be? And it would be to stop being so closed-minded on who I surround myself with. I felt like I went from college to the city and stayed within that little bubble where I wish I made work friends, or I wish I tried to meet new people in different ways and made that effort, because why seclude yourself to this little bubble and then all of a sudden those 5 people have plans and you're alone.
Bubble pops.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. It's always such a weird feeling when like everyone groups off and you're just like what you said, it's like fun to be an individual until you have those moments that you're reminded that you're an individual and you're alone.
Well, one thing I've noticed lately is that I don't ever actually want to go. I just want to be invited.
Oh, 100%.
I want to be wanted. I want that validation, but I don't want to go.
That's so valid. I'm the same way. Like, I would rather be at home, like 99% of the time.
But that's just wanting, like that's being a human.
Yeah.
That's literally how our brains function. That's how we were raised with, we all want to be desired. That is the point of us as human beings on this earth. We want to be desired.
Yeah. Even think about with friendships, when you're going through something, you don't always talk to your friend because you want specific advice. You talk to your friend because you want to know that there's a person that cares about you and is there for you. Like, I think that's just such a huge, it's like you just want to know that like someone is there and they're thinking of you.
But that's why I think it's so important to find that within yourself, because when it comes down to it, the only person that is going to 100% be there for you every step of the way throughout this life is yourself.
Yeah.
And there's so many people that keep thinking, and I know we've talked about this, but they think, okay, well, once I get this boyfriend or once I get this job or, you know, once I get this promotion, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
Will you?
Yeah.
Because you'll get that and then you'll just want the next thing.
It's so true. And I want you to get into that too, actually, because we were talking about this before, that feeling where everyone looks at you and they think, well, she's in a relationship, she has like this great job and she has a following, like what you actually feel under that, and like
Ilana
how
and
you
I
deal
talk
with
about
it.
this a lot.
Yeah, it's so easy for even me to compare myself to Carly. Like, I have 50,000 followers on Instagram. Carly has 130,000 followers on TikTok. And for so long, I was like, oh, well, like once I get to like 100K, like, or I even remember when you were trying to get to 100K, you're like, once I get to 100K, like
happy.
I'll be good.
Yeah.
And then you got to 100K and you're like, okay, well now I need to get to 500. And like me being at 50 and feeling that internal and external pressure to be growing, I have to remind myself, well, Carly got to 100 and it didn't solve her problems.
Yeah.
And then we look at you and we're all struggling with the same exact things, just at different levels, but it's the same feelings. And I think that is the case for every aspect of life, whether it's job, whether it's like you just moved into this incredible apartment. Right before we were talking about someone else who moved into a possibly bigger apartment.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, how can we move into that bigger apartment?
Yeah, I think the biggest things that some of my clients come to me with is like they're single and they just keep telling me, well, I just know once I get a boyfriend or, you know, once I find my person, like I'll just be happy. And I hold up my ring. I was like, do you see this? I am engaged.
Yeah.
I'm engaged. I'm in love. I'm so happy in my relationship. Am I happy in overall life?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Because I'm still searching for that external validation and that external high of, again, getting 150, whatever it is, getting that promotion. And the biggest thing is like, okay, well, how can we find the happiness within ourselves so that we're not always searching for that? And once you find that, those things will come.
Yeah. And it's also a balancing act in life. Like life isn't just relationships or just job. It's like I picture the wheel and it's like family and friends, relationship, like career, like money. There's all these different areas and you just can't expect everything to always be there. I don't know if you think this, but I have never seen anyone that has every single one. There's always something. So I feel like it's also a bit of like being realistic about like you, and I want people to think they can have it all, but also like you don't need to have every single.
It's also how you handle it. It's also how you react. Like this is life. We only live one life, and think about it. Like imagine you had every single thing. Then what?
Right. Yeah. It's
what
so
would
true,
be your
then
motivation? I think it's so special and so cool to work towards things, but most of all, like work on yourself and try to become the best version of yourself, because that's something you're going to work on every day. And it, you know.
And I always think of this thing that Gary Vee says. I've like talked about this before. I love Gary Vee. He always says like most people, once they accomplish what they wanted to accomplish, they say the most fun part and the most fulfilling part was the part where they were working up to the accomplishment, not the actual accomplishment. Because then you say, now what? Okay, I accomplished this. And also, you have to think of the fact that I always think to myself, I'm too old. Like, I should have accomplished this younger. I should have accomplished this sooner. But then I would have had that issue of now what? I would have just had to keep reinventing the wheel and thinking of another thing and another thing. So it's like, it's better to like actually have a steady climb up and be passionate about something and do something that fuels you and be constantly working towards something instead of like reaching this peak of fame or success when you're a certain age. Think of how fucked up Justin Bieber is.
I was just about to say every single child star.
Yeah.
Everyone that had overnight success. I've listened, I used to work in the music industry and I'm a huge music fan, and I've listened to so many interviews of people saying that they wish their first album, their first record, their first song didn't blow up the way it did because that skewed their perception of what success is. And it put so much pressure on them for every single next thing they put out to be just as successful. And it never was.
And it also makes you lose love for the art. So whatever you're doing, whatever you love, like whether it's like being an influencer or anything else in the world, like once you become so successful at it or once you hit that peak, it's automatically then your job and your income. Right. So it takes away that feeling of just being passionate and doing something that you love every day. Like even with me, like creating content or like wanting to like inspire people, you have to keep reminding yourself why you do what you do. Like every day you have to remind yourself, because otherwise you will get caught up in the money and in the numbers and all the things that aren't important, that are actually just a side effect of.
I had a therapy session last night, like my own therapist.
Therapists go to therapy too.
Yes, all therapists go to therapy. At least I hope they do.
I feel like that should be a requirement.
It should be.
Oh, 100%.
100%. I hope every therapist has a therapist.
Yeah. I hope my therapist talks about her therapist to me. About me to her therapist. Yeah.
And I talk about this a lot, but like I get so defeated with being a content creator and things not working. And she literally made me write down like, what do I actually like about it? And like what part of it makes me feel good? And I think it's so hard to remember why you start something. And it's like us right before this, we said we all love doing this podcast because we're connecting with people, we're inspiring people, we're resonating with people. Well, we need to make sure that if it does blow up and starts, you know, making money,
Yeah.
we need to make sure that we're keeping this passion and not like it's really hard to do that.
Yeah, it is so true. Yeah, you want to keep the momentum of it, but also like keep coming back to like why you're doing
it,
what you're doing in the first place.
I want to flip-flop back to something that Carly said before when you were saying like you show your clients like I have this ring on my finger, like I'm getting engaged, like do you think I'm happy, like are all my problems solved? Because I fully for so many years wholeheartedly believed that once I got a boyfriend all of my problems would be solved and I would be happy. And Carly, I'm curious because you're a few years younger than us, for you and for your friends and maybe some of your listeners that you've talked to, do you think people have that mindset, or do you think they have more awareness now of like the conversations that we're having in this moment that, hey, that doesn't happen?
I think it's so mixed, but I, honest to God, think most people still think they'll find happiness when they find
agree.
a boyfriend. Yeah. I even like, because I always say, I don't want, see, I don't think I'll find happiness, but I think that I'll find that piece of my life. But I see it as a piece of my life, not my
your whole life.
Well, that's a better
but I
way
think
to
a
look at
lot
it.
of people see it as everything, like love is everything, and I see it as a piece. I think one day when I have a family and when I'm married, it will be more, it will take up more. But right now, I just see it like, this
little
pie,
puzzle piece.
this pie, my career is like this big and my family and my friends like this big. And there's just like this little tiny space for like dating and love.
Yeah.
So I think that it depends on what phase you are in life. But right now it doesn't, I don't think that it brings more happiness. Right. But I get that fulfillment. I think people get kind of this high off of all different things. And certain people find that high out of a guy liking them.
Well, that high comes from being seen. That high comes from that validation of I'm good enough for somebody.
Yeah, it is so interesting because like I was thinking of that high when we were talking about followers and stuff. It's like it doesn't make you, it doesn't bring true happiness.
No.
Because there's a difference. And maybe you know what this is called. I think it's I forget the name of it, but it's like there's true happiness and then there's like a different
Dopamine
word.
hits?
No, like
I don't know which way you're going with it, but I know what you mean.
Like followers, like someone just seeing you or like saying they like you, those don't bring actual
It's a
happiness.
quick fix.
Joy. I was looking for the word joy.
That's what you were looking for. Yeah.
I
have
that
great-
Carly would be
I'm
able to
trying
pull
to
the
think
word
of
joy from
my,
her
like-
therapy handbook, and then I would not.
Like I'm trying to go back into like my like
You're like
psychology, like
yeah. No, I'm just looking for a
I'm
really
like,
simple word.
Chemicals in
It's
your
called
brain.
brain fog, guys. Look it up. I have it. Yeah.
that is all about giving that quick fix. That's also when people burn out on dating apps because the reason that they're going on the dating apps is let me see how many people like me to get that instant high, but then it goes away so quickly because that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, I find, and I don't know if it's just me, when people say dating is a numbers game, I don't think of it about like intention. I'm just like, go on as many dates as you can, and eventually you'll land on someone that you like.
No.
But
That's like eeny, meeny, miny,
exactly.
mo.
But that's why I always have been thinking to myself, like, there's just no way that's true. It's the intention part because can you talk about frequency? Like,
How often I think we should be going on dates.
yeah, because I think that's the part where when you say the numbers game, I'm like, I was thinking to myself, oh my God, well, I've got to be going on all these. But I've realized recently,
So when I say dating is a numbers game, I mean that there is so much to learn from so many different people about yourself, about what you want. And I think so many people expect to go on a date, have this instant spark with someone, and that be it. And people expect, that someone's just going to knock on their door and show up. Dating is a numbers game doesn't mean go on as many dates as you can.
Yeah.
It means go on the dates with intent of this person, I think, may have something that I could be interested in and see where that goes. But it's not go on a million dates in a week.
Yeah, because I find that a lot of friends of mine or just a lot of people in general will go on Hinge and just be like, he's cute and he went to a good school and be like, well, I'm going to go out with him. But I think there's always a part of me that's like, think about like what you actually like want in a person and like try to like, you know what I mean? Like think about actually what you want. Cause like there's a lot of people that I feel like I easily cross off. And I'm not talking about prior Carly where I'm being like aggressively picky. I'm talking about like more recently I've like really opened up and been way like I've gone out with people that before
Let's talk about this for a second.
Yeah.
I want to know, and I honestly want everyone to know, this list, this quote unquote mental list that you have of what you're looking for.
Okay, so I'm like, let's get into
Let's talk about it.
No, so before it was really like, I've always had this list, but at the end of the day, I just know that like if I connect with someone the right way and it just feels right, that'll be it for me. But I do have just certain things. Like I want you to have like gone to a good school or like not like a like Penn State, like just somewhere that's like a good, like you got an education kind of thing. Like I just feel like that's like maybe that's a weird value, but that's a value. Literally just like has friends, like has like surrounds himself with a good group, is cute. Like I'm attracted to them. And is motivated or just passionate about something in life. You don't need to know. You don't need to be rich. You don't need to be on your path in your career. I'm worried where we're in our 20s, early 30s, people I'm dating, and you're not going to always know what you want to do in life. But I need you to, for something in life to give you a feeling of passion. I need to be able to see that in you. Like someone's super passionate about music and like loves to go to concerts or like has like loves to run and runs marathons. Something that like shows me that you're a passionate individual.
Now, do you feel like when you're going on these dates, okay, and like we're just taking you for example, when you're going on these dates, are you writing someone off based on any of those things? Like, have you found yourself going on these dates and then someone not having some passion and then you kind of writing them off?
I've written, I'll say like reasons that I've written certain people off. One person I've written off because I wasn't like attracted to them. Like I didn't feel the attraction and I like gave them a couple chances and just didn't feel it.
Fair.
And I kind of was just, but everything else was great. And he was also younger than me and I was fine with that because he was mature, very mature, very career driven. I was fine with it. Another person, political views, just straight up political views, like could not compromise political views.
Don't need to. Don't have to.
So those are like a couple examples of why I've written people off. Like I think that's really like it when it comes to that stuff. But I wasn't always like that. Like in the past, I just was like, I don't know, but I guess that is kind of how I've always been. But I was just used to be more picky and date less frequently. Now I'm more frequent, so I've been able to see more people. It's become more of a numbers game.
Do you feel like you're getting burnt out? Like, what are your feelings of dating more frequently?
No, I'm not burnt out because I just started.
Oh, well.
You said on your last episode that you're going on like maybe 1 date a week. Yeah.
Even less sometimes too.
And I think that's perfect. I feel like people feel so much pressure to be filling every free weeknight they have with dates.
No.
But that's where people think dating is a numbers game. But no, because you're going to burn out. You're going to hate dating. You're going to start questioning what's wrong with me. Why can't anybody want to be with me when I'm trying so hard? I'm putting myself out there. Because you should not be going on a date with a different person every week.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to enjoy your time. You're not going to be able to actually reflect on how you feel with someone, on how you feel after you're with somebody. You're not going to be able to have different conversations. It's just going to become like a job interview and robotic.
Yeah. And I never want it to be that way. And I see how it's been with other people. But I actually feel like, because before I just simply wasn't ready. And I feel like, and I talked about this in my last episode too, and I don't think it's talked about enough. I never had friends that related to me in that way of just when I was younger, just not feeling ready yet.
Yeah.
Like not feeling ready. Like when you guys, I mean, I don't know, how long have you been with, do you say his name on social media?
I've been with Jake for
like some people are like, I don't know.
We're both like 3 years.
Yeah.
So when you graduated college and when you were first dating, like what were you looking for, and how often were you going out with people? Like what was your...
I was psycho obsessed because I thought that finding a boyfriend would complete me. So I went on a lot of dates. I was in a lot of situationships. I made a lot of terrible decisions, but I completely based my happiness and my livelihood off of whether or not a guy liked me in that moment. So I highly do not recommend that. It put me through the ringer so many times. It was so unhealthy for me. That was my experience.
Were you in serious relationships before that, like in your life?
I had like a serious high school boyfriend who I thought I was going to marry. We dated for a year and a half, and then we broke up when I went to college. And I was in like long situationships throughout after that.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about you?
I got rejected a lot.
Same.
Lot. Yeah, and I feel like that's something people don't really know about me. I don't think I've really talked about it, but when I was in the city, when I was dating my first year after school, I tried going on dates, and every date, like, they just wouldn't text me or they wouldn't want a second date. And I couldn't be more thankful that I didn't meet my fiance until I was in my late 20s, because I would not want to be with someone from who I was back then, because there's so much I learned through so many different things and dates. Like, there's so much I learned through dating. That I'm so happy that I didn't meet him later. When life.
You were in that beginning phase of dating, what were you like looking for? Like, do you remember? I want to know from both of you. Do you remember some of your checklist stuff? And
oh my gosh.
And how much of it is true or not true?
I thought that, and I see this on TikTok now, and it kind of pisses me the fuck off, where people are like, you should have this very specific list.
No.
Yes.
No.
No.
I agree. No.
That you should have this specific list because you're going to manifest the exact partner. No, you're fucking not. Yeah. No one is going to meet every goddamn thing on your checklist.
No.
And when I went through my last breakup, after that, I was like, I'm finding the perfect guy. He is going to be 6 foot. He is going to have blue eyes. He is going to be in a really good job. All of the things, I still have my list. And it obviously was not working for me. I was single for a little, and I kept getting really upset about it, whatever. As soon as I changed my mindset and I looked at that list and I was like, what just values do I want to see in a partner? Who would treat me well? Who would make a good husband? What kind of attributes do they have that would lift me up and just be a good partner, instead of looking at like every little thing on the list?
Yeah.
So I had that list, and it did not fucking work for me.
Also, think about it. Imagine if you met a guy and he was really interested in you and you were interested in him, and you later find out he had a checklist of 100 things that he wanted in a girl, and you fit all of those things. That's creepy.
Yeah.
And then, like, for me, I feel like if I checked
that's
off
fucking weird.
everything on a guy's list, I'm like, oh, so it just like is a coincidence that like those things I have.
Yeah.
Like some physical attributes, some personality. Like, it just feels creepy. Like, you were on a treasure hunt to find something.
It is
like
interesting.
Building a connection.
It almost feels like, guys that like blondes, they like always fucking like blondes.
Yeah.
And you're like, this is getting
Why?
weird. Like,
Right.
why are all your exes the same?
Yeah.
Like, it's like you were so intentional about it instead of just like you fell in love with me as like a
Yeah.
human being.
Here's what I'll say about the list too. And one thing that my therapist told me that really helped me shift my mindset when dating was think about it as your friends. When you look at your friends, do you love every single aspect about them?
Right, yeah, no.
Are there things that you could be like, I don't love that about you?
Yeah.
Like, there is no perfect person. So why are you expecting the dates that you go on to have all of these perfect things?
Yeah.
You have deep relationships with your friends, right?
Yeah, 100%.
You can build deep connections.
Yeah.
You have deep love for them. Yet I'm sure they wouldn't check off every single thing.
Right.
I think that is the key too, when you're willing to be open, because I guess maybe I wasn't before, or I just wasn't into it, but when you're willing to be open to a person's flaws and be like, it's actually okay if this person doesn't have this and this, because if they have, as long as they're like a good human and they value family or like whatever, it's okay. They don't need to have all of it.
Yeah, well, we talk about red flags a lot because everyone's obsessed with red flags. And there's so much content out there on social media where people are defining red flags for all of society. And my red flags are going to be different than yours and different than yours.
So true.
And so what we really want people to realize is just because there's a red flag, like, remember what a red flag is. A red flag is not a deal breaker.
Yes.
A red flag is something that you hear or you notice about someone and you're like, oh, okay, that's interesting. You know what? I don't know how I feel about that yet, but I'm not going to write them off for it. I'm just going to get a little curious about this thing.
Okay, this is so interesting because in my last episode, I talked about red flags, but I actually realized now I meant deal breakers.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand what.
People are saying red
Because
flags.
it's red flag. No, yeah, I literally was saying things that were deal breakers, not red flags. Like a red flag
It's
is
just a
something
flag,
to
like,
note and be like,
ding, ding, ding.
okay,
here.
proceed with caution.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Jason has red flags. I
You
have
have
red flags.
Yeah,
We
I have red
We're
flags.
covered
Yeah,
now.
Like,
yeah.
Imagine if someone's gonna go out with you and I don't know, you do or say something which could not be a big deal, but to someone they're like, oh my god,
That could be a
flag.
red flag.
She's done.
Yeah. That's so true. My social media could be a red flag, honestly.
It could be, but it doesn't define you.
Yeah.
And that could just be like, okay, well, you know what? Let me talk to her about it. I'm curious to know more.
Yeah. So what were some of your actual deal breakers when you were dating? Like what were some things that you really were like, I cannot compromise on this?
So I don't know. This is different than a deal breaker, and I'll talk about deal breakers, but something when I was intentional about dating and when I shifted that mindset, when I was going on dates, I wanted to see how open they were with like talking about their past relationships and getting deep with me. And I noticed that there were so many guys that didn't. And with Jason, he just kind of went with it. He enjoyed me asking questions. And that to me was important.
Yeah.
So that's not a deal breaker per se, but it's something that I really looked out for.
Yeah.
Of like who was able to be open about that stuff.
Same. And I love talking about dating on dates. I think it's the quickest way to learn
Yeah.
about someone, learn about their past, what hasn't worked out for them and why, because then you can take that information and decide, oh, maybe we are not compatible, or it sounds like I would run into the same relationship problem with them that they ran into in the past or that I ran into in the past.
But people on social media are always saying
shunning
like,
talking about dating on the first date, which I always do because you're so right. And I never knew. I always was like, I'm a weirdo for this. But it's because you want to get deeper with the person. You want to get to know them because you're right. Like when you start to ask about those things, like, oh, like, I want to know, like, are you like actively dating like other people? Like,
It's
what
the
are you
fastest
looking
way to
for?
find out if you're looking for the same things.
Yeah.
And it's okay if you're not. But
Yeah.
if you're not, the two of you should not continue to talk to each
Right,
other.
right. It's so true. It's so crazy how what's like the craziest thing you guys have seen on social media recently that you disagree with dating?
Oh my God.
I've seen
How much time do we have?
I know I've seen so much stuff too, and I know you guys have like talked about this stuff, and I'm so curious what you're like. What's something you've seen lately that you're like, are you fucking kidding me?
This isn't a very recent thing, but something I've heard over the last few years is about, have you heard of box theory?
Yeah.
And for those who are unfamiliar with box theory, it's that when a guy meets you, if you're a girl, he immediately puts you into either the hookup box or the friend box, or the girlfriend box. The girlfriend box, the friend box, the hookup box. And it's one of those three boxes, and once you're in one, you can't
Get
move
out of
boxes.
it, right.
I had a podcast recording last week with two of my guy friends, Sam and Joey, and I asked them about it because I'm like, I need to hear from a guy's perspective. Is this true? And they were like, no, that's ridiculous. First of all, we don't immediately put people in boxes. And yeah, maybe we'll think like, oh, like she's cute. I want to get to know her more and see what unfolds. But also, if I think I want to hook up with you and then I decide I have feelings for you, of course you can move. Or I could have feelings for you and then decide I just want to hook up with you.
Yeah.
Or not at all.
These rules piss me the fuck off.
So much.
Because why are all of you people preaching these rules that every single person thinks they need to follow, and then they'll follow them and nothing will happen?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, like dating is so unique and each individual is so unique. Like I've never come across a single two relationships that like are the same. Even with my parents, like I always tell the story of like how they met and how like my dad broke up with my mom and everyone's like, she should have left his ass and never gone back to him. It's like, but if she hadn't done that, then they wouldn't have been married for 30 years. And so it's like, you can't have these set in stone rules about people or things because it's all about like, and I think going with your gut too, and what your gut is telling you to
Not
do.
one rule fits all.
Yeah.
And Carly and I both broke every single one of the dating rules when we met our now fiancés. And thank God we
Literally.
broke them and didn't feel like we had to follow them, because had we followed them, we would not both be marrying our people this year.
I hate the if he wanted to, he would.
Yes.
Okay,
Facts.
tell me, explain.
I hate it.
Because I always say this.
And that's fine. And so many people do. And I'm sure there was a point in my life where I really wholeheartedly believed that. But with Jason, for example, you know, we started dating over COVID, and he wasn't the quickest responder over text. And we went on one date and it was great. And I don't think I even really I don't know if I heard from him the next day or whatever. And I texted him and I asked him out on the next date. And later on, I was just like, oh, why didn't you text me? And he honestly was like, honestly, I was just busy. Like, I just like didn't, he's like, I really liked you, but like something like came up and whatever. But just because he doesn't do it right then and there doesn't mean he doesn't want to. And I get why some people think that. But it depends on the situation.
I know, because it's a slippery slope, because I have a lot of friends that will do it to the point where it's toxic. Like, this man clearly doesn't like you. Like, that's obviously not the case. You guys it was a second date.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't like but I'll have friends that like will continue to go after the person. Like, I think there's a balance. You don't want to be aggressively reaching out. Like, if he pretty quickly was like, I want to go out.
You got to read the room at a certain point. But my problem with if he wanted to, he would, is how many times have you wanted to but didn't?
Yeah.
And maybe if he wanted to, he might, but he might be busy. Or
if he wanted to, he might.
He might not know that you want him to.
Yeah.
Or he might not know how. Or he might be afraid because of something that's happened in his past. Maybe he wants to, but he's not ready. It's never black and white. There are so many reasons why somebody might not do something that you want them to in that moment. But also, if he wanted to, he would. Completely strips women of the opportunity to go for what they want. And I agree. At a certain point, and I did this so many times where until the point where I was just fed up with myself and I was like, this is embarrassing, this is painful, I need to stop like begging people to want to be with me. But we as women, like, if we want to ask someone out, we can ask them out. If we want to text them first, thank them for the date, whatever it is, literally there's no reason in the world why we shouldn't do that.
And I think that's where we get upset with, if he wanted to, he would, because, well, if you want to, then do it. Like, not everything has to be on them. And that's another rule that we just don't follow is, like, they should text you first, or they should do this.
And I think the lesson overall is, like, dating is, like, nothing is concrete. Like, you have to stop thinking of things as so concrete and start, like, doing something with balance. Like, I think everything needs to be approached with balance.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, and figure out what works for you. I mean, you were saying when you were in your early 20s, you felt like none of your friends were in the same position as you with not feeling ready to date. Like, your best friend might have a completely different set of rules for herself. And that's okay. And that's the problem with putting a screenshot of a text in a group chat and saying, hey, friends, how should I respond to this? Because everyone's going to have a different idea. Everyone's going to have different past experiences. Like, you have to do what works for you.
I really challenge anyone single or dating listening. The next date you go on, the next guy you're texting, don't ask people for opinions. Really do what's in your gut and try going with that. If you feel like you want to text someone and ask them out, why don't you give it a shot? What's the worst that can happen? They don't answer? Okay.
And I always find, too, that anytime I've actually, like, the one time I was in an actual relationship was the time that I didn't consult anyone. And I find that anytime I consult people, it always ends up not working out. Like, once you start, like, telling your mom, telling your friends, asking people for advice, somehow the universe always says, that actually wasn't for you.
When Jake and I first met, I had a group chat with two of my friends. It was a guy and a girl, and they both were in the dating field. And I was sending them screenshots, and what they were telling me to say and to how long to wait before responding and everything, I was like, that just doesn't feel right. Like, I'm going to do what I want. And then they would get mad at me. And Jake and I later looked back at that group chat, and he looked at everything and he was like, if you ever for a second behaved the way that they were telling you to behave and said the things that they were telling you to say, we never would have ended up together.
It's actually crazy. And same thing with my mom. Like, when I asked my mom how, if she would have behaved in a certain way instead of the way that she did, if they would have worked out. And my dad always is like, no, I wouldn't have wanted to be with her. Like, because she behaved, like, some people would have been like, basically my dad had ended things with my mom and said, like, I just don't know if I'm ready for everything. And my mom decided that she just wanted to move on with her life as quickly as possible and not ask questions and just move out, get her shit. And if you don't want to be with me, fine. And my dad was always like, I think that if you had not given me that space, I wouldn't have been able to come to such a clear conclusion. And it really taught me, like, because a lot of women or a lot of people might have said to her, like, you need to get closure. Like, you need to ask why he did this.
Never get closure.
Yeah.
No, closure's
Closure
not real.
doesn't exist.
It's really not. And I feel like anytime any of my friends have been broken up with and wanted closure, something else reopens. Something else always reopens.
You'll never find closure from someone else. You will never hear the exact thing that you want to hear. So it's just not worth it. Find closure with yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is a you thing. Like, the reason that they broke up with you or the reason that things ended, like, that's a them problem. So now you have to work on the you problem.
Also, think about it. You could sit down with them and ask them a question. They're going to give you an answer. That answer is not going to satisfy you.
No, right.
You're going to have a follow-up question and then a follow-up question and a follow-up question, and it will never end.
Yeah.
I made myself so crazy with my last breakup because I wanted closure so badly that every other day I'd ask something new. And every time it was an answer that I was not happy with.
Yeah. Do you guys believe in no contact after breakups?
I wish I did that.
I think for a lot of people, myself included, it is the only thing that works.
Yeah.
And I fought against it so much in every Carly and I both laughed that, like, we are horrible people for someone to break up with. We don't, like,
We didn't let them do it.
no, we don't let you break up with us. Like, we go ape shit crazy. But I did have an ex who ended up blocking me. And it was so painful, but it was the greatest possible thing that he could have done because it's what forced me to slowly but surely move forward.
You will never move forward if you are still in contact, if you're still letting them in.
One thing that I've found can be really helpful, and I do dating coaching, is I have people come to me, or friends even, when they've gone through a breakup, and you know how we're obsessively checking their stories and trying to see if they've watched our stories and everything. It's impossible to, like, not to look away.
Yeah.
What I've found is find one friend. It can be me. You can DM any of us and we might not ever respond, but find a friend or us, anyone to hold you accountable. Pick an emoji. I recommend the spider emoji because it's one that I hate. Pick an emoji that you hate, or an emoji that makes you think of something like shitty or like makes you feel icky. It's okay if you check their story. It's okay if you go to their page. It's okay to see if you look to see if they've watched your stories, whatever it is. But every time you do it, you have to send that spider emoji. And your friend doesn't have to respond. We don't have to respond. But you have to hold yourself accountable and you have to send it because that's going to kind of make your brain pause and be like, oh, you know what? I don't need to I don't want to check it because I don't want to have to, like, own up to the fact that I did it.
Yeah.
And over time, you're going to do it so much less until eventually you stop.
Yeah. And you also have to, like, face that. Like, anytime you open the chat, like, you have to be reminded
see all of them.
that you just did that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is a really good.
One thing I would also, I don't know how we got on breakup topic. Somehow we're here, but
It's like the whole life cycle.
It was inevitable.
one thing I would say, if you're going through a breakup and you're constantly wanting to see their stuff, before you go and do it, if you can take 5 seconds to ask yourself, like, what will this make me feel? And is anything that I'm going to see make me happy or make me okay? Like, you know what I mean? Like, ask yourself, is there anything they could post that will make me feel good?
Yeah.
Because I can promise you, probably not.
Yeah.
And that
It's
goes
so
beyond just breakups too. Like friends or a company that you used to work for or anything. Or if you know that, like, a certain day is really hard for you, maybe like Valentine's Day is coming.
Yeah, yeah.
If you know that you're going to feel extra alone on Valentine's Day or upset that it's Valentine's Day and you don't have somebody, don't go on social media on Valentine's Day. You'll feel 1,000 times better.
Yeah. It's literally like a form of self-harm when you're choosing to, you kind of have to think of it like that too. I don't think people think of it that way, but it really is self-harm because you're actively doing something that you know is just going to make you feel shit.
And you're controlling it. You're controlling that whole narrative.
It's
So
true.
take control back into your life and just don't do it.
Yeah.
Even if you need a friend to I've had friends change my password on Instagram for me so that I don't check.
And it's okay to take social media breaks too.
Yeah.
Like I think that's the most underrated thing. Have a fucking sober January from your ex and from Instagram.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that.
Do sober February. Literally.
From all toxic people.
From toxic people.
Sober
yeah.
2024.
So
Yeah.
just actually leave.
Anyone not serving you, just get the fuck out in 2024.
Yeah, it needs to end. Okay, I on a positive note, because I want to end it on a more positive note. What are like things that now in your relationships that you really like value and are really happy with, like that you just feel like you couldn't live without? Like, what are some qualities in your partner that you're just like, this, I really value this?
So before Jason, I didn't know that my love language was acts of service. And have you guys heard about the Clementine theory, or what is it, the orange theory on TikTok?
Oh, like peeling the orange for the girl and like cutting it up or something, and
Yeah,
just
so-
like those little tiny acts.
It's just like, yes. And I don't know if it like really is that and that deep, but it's just noticing the things that he'll do that I won't ever ask for. Like, I just went and put gas in your car. It's just like the little things that I'm like, wow, you care that much about like my well-being to make sure that I have gas in my car. It's so silly, but like he made me realize that acts of service is my love language.
It's so interesting.
I don't know if that answered your question.
No,
but
it does. It really does, because it's and I think it's often like the things that you like don't know that you needed or wanted in the partner is the thing that you like always value the most. Kind of. You're like, wow, I didn't even know that this was something I needed in my life. What about you?
For me, I don't know if it's a him thing or a me thing or the two of us together. I just like, I've never felt more comfortable with any human being on the planet. Like, I think I'm so freaking weird. And like, he doesn't make me feel like I'm weird.
Yeah.
We're just ourselves. And I feel like he's beyond my best friend in the world. And like, I could be in the coolest place doing the coolest thing. And like, I just want to get home and like be with him. And it's just, I'm like in my happy place whenever I'm with him. And I didn't know before, like any guy I was ever with, it was always filled with anxiety or wanting to impress them or wanting them to want me. And with him, it's just pure comfort and safety.
Did either of you feel a spark in the beginning?
No.
I forgot. What did you feel? Like, how soon did you know that like it was gonna be it?
I don't know when I knew it was going to be it, but our first date was like fine. Our second date was better. And our third date was when I was like, oh, I could see a future with this person.
Okay. What about you?
I don't really remember. So when I met Jason, I swear the night before we had that FaceTime, I was like, that's when I had my mindset shift of I'm just going to look at everyone as a new human that I'm meeting as a friend. And if something's there, great, but like they're not my husband. Like I'm not looking for my husband. And that's when things changed. And so I think that's actually what made me feel it early on, because I so wasn't looking for that. But because I was able to just like vibe with him, I was like, oh, like this is interesting. I will say, I hope he doesn't listen to this.
What?
The first time having sex, not good.
Okay, interesting.
It wasn't good. And I remember stressing about it.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you think it was?
I think we just didn't know each other.
No, it takes time.
It takes so much time. And I really like, I remember like that night I was like, oh my God, like I guess I was wrong about everything. Like I don't like this guy. Like this isn't my future. And then it was just realizing like, okay, wait, that's so normal. But again, that was me listening to those dating experts being like,
it should be great the first
it should
time.
be amazing the first time, or like you should be doing it every night, or whatever it is. Like it was getting in my head of like, oh my God, then I guess we're not meant to be, because the first night wasn't amazing.
That's so interesting.
I would say if you're looking for the spark on, the biggest spark on the first date, like you're not going to find it when you're actively searching for it.
No, there's also so much research that has been done that the spark is really just anxiety. And every time I felt a spark with somebody, I literally would go home and say like, oh my God, I met my husband. And every single
like,
one of those
anxious.
times. Yeah, exactly. It was all anxiety. It was all me not knowing where they stood, not knowing what they were looking for, and obsessing over them because it wasn't right.
Right.
Yeah, maybe instead of searching for the spark, like
Search for the calm a little bit.
Yeah.
Calm, the
Yeah.
comfort. Who makes you just feel comfortable?
Yeah.
And calming.
Yeah.
That's why on the third date, I ended up realizing like, oh, this could be something, because I'd gotten my first COVID vaccine the day before. I was so sick. I couldn't move my arm. I was in so much pain. And we ended up having a really fun day despite me feeling like absolute hell. Like I got hit by a bus. And after that, we were like ending the date and I was like, oh, I'm just going to go home and watch One Tree Hill for the rest of the night. Like, you're welcome to join me. He came over. I changed into sweatpants, like, I think I took my makeup off, and we just like laid on the couch and watched One Tree Hill, and it was so easy and comfortable. And I was like, wow, on a day where I feel like a train wreck, I was able to have a lot of fun and feel really comfortable with this person.
And in that moment, you weren't like, oh my God, this spark. Like,
no, I was like, wow, that was
Yeah.
so nice.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's such a, it's almost like a rom-com theory. Like it's like a
Yeah.
rom-com thing to have like the spark,
Yeah.
but that's not reality. That's
we've
like,
been trained
yeah.
to think this way.
Yeah, and it's also, that's the thing, it's not women's fault. Like when you see on social media all these different theories, it's because women are kind of taught to like obsess and to try to find very specific things. Like we've been programmed like this.
Like, remember how terrible the situations were in every rom-com? Like, we don't actually want that.
There was always a really bad climax.
There's always like
it's always really
so
scary.
much disaster. We
Yeah.
don't want it's entertainment
Yeah.
for a reason.
Yeah.
Our relationships and dating lives don't have to be that.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be.
Okay, I want to finish off with a little like rapid fire random ass questions
Love that.
because they're just like fun and
Love.
I don't know. Okay, first rapid fire. Biggest red flag in a friend, but in like only like a few words. Like,
You feel like they're talking about you behind your back.
That's a good one. I hate rapid fire.
the rest are really easy.
I have
Okay.
some ideas for you, but I'm not going to say that.
No, tell me.
No.
Say it.
Hey, what?
I don't know if you want them on the microphone. Very specific examples.
I was like, oh, maybe don't say.
That's a very specific example. Can't support your wins.
Period.
Love.
Wedding trend you are loving right now, or wedding trend you are hating right now.
Is it bad that I haven't been following wedding trends?
I have.
What are you loving and hating right now?
Did you give me some ideas? What are you hating so that I don't do them at my wedding?
Oh,
You will be there.
Oh God. Okay, you know what I hate? I'm not into the multiple gown changes. I just think it's unnecessary and it's stressful for no reason. It's expensive for no reason. If you love your gown, just pick one and have it be the gown. Other than like changing into your little like cute dress.
cute.
Yeah.
At the end of the night, everyone should change.
Yes.
That's a trend. Okay, I love changing into like sneakers
too.
and a comfy dress
Yes.
at the
Me
end
too.
of the
I
night.
love that.
And just being able to dance and have fun with your friends.
I
Yeah.
agree. Why do
Oh,
you need two gowns?
Another wedding trend I hate.
Tell us.
Girls doing haircuts after
Yeah,
their
what
ceremony.
is up with that? There's no amount of money you could pay me.
Wait, is that a thing?
Yes.
Like massive
Girls being
hair,
like,
cutting
my
off this much
my
hair."
husband's reaction to getting a bob for the party.
Wait, you literally couldn't
Bitch,
pay
no.
me?
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I think it's like maybe 3 people in the world have
But
done it,
it's-
and
they're
those
such-
videos have
they've
just gone so
blown up.
viral.
Wait,
and
and I'm like,
there
I
are more. These are fun.
Oh, okay. Oh my God, there's so many more. Okay, well, there's certain like fonts I don't love. Like, I don't know. Oh my God, there's so many.
Do you? What are yours that you don't
things.
like?
Okay, another one.
Is Carly getting married? How is she on like wedding talk? And I'm not.
you want to plan the rest
another
of my
one
wedding for me?
another one I do like. I love an acrylic, like under the huppah, like the.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's pretty.
And I love the mirrored. People have been doing mirrored aisles. Love that.
Mirrored aisles.
Yeah.
So we have learned it costs a lot of money for that one.
What about? Did you think of something? Wait.
I was gonna say things that I can't really think of wedding trends that I hate, but I can think of things that I'm doing differently.
Yeah, I want to know.
I'm not having a wedding party, no
Period.
bridesmaids, no bachelorette party.
Period. I know people that did that, and honestly, great fucking decision because it's expensive and
Not having
stressful.
a bachelorette party was the greatest decision I made in this whole process, and the easiest one for me to make, and the one that I have not second guessed for a second.
I love that.
I can't know anymore. I need to think of trends.
No, it's okay.
Someone let me
That
know
was
some
good.
trends.
Love the sneakers. Love the
Yeah,
sneakers.
yeah. Comfort is so important, honestly. Okay, one last one. This is really random. Socks on or off at the guy now? You take all your clothes off, socks on or
Oh
off.
my God.
Off.
It's so hard.
I say on.
I think on. I think I leave them on and then I
Cold.
sit there feeling uncomfy and confused.
Yeah.
I take them off, I think.
Okay. I just had to know. Me and my mom were talking about it this morning.
That's
Oh my
so
God.
funny.
Yeah. Anyways.
That's so stressful.
So that's the episode. Thanks for now that we talked about the gyno. No, but really, thank you guys so much for coming on. I feel like you guys are just the
What
easiest
did we
people.
just talk about?
I don't know,
No idea.
but enjoy, guys. No, seriously, you guys are so knowledgeable. You make me feel like an idiot. Like
You're
you guys are
not.
just so like inspired, and I just know that everyone that's listening to this is gonna immediately start listening to your podcast if they haven't already. But please plug it so that people can listen.
Oh, I would love
because you guys are
that.
just a wealth of knowledge.
Oh,
and
Ilana always makes me do this.
do it.
Okay, well, you can follow at It's Life in Progress on Instagram and TikTok, at Carly R. Silverman on TikTok, at Ilana.Dunn on TikTok, at Seeing Other People on Instagram. What did I miss?
Ilana.Dunn on Instagram.
Oh, fuck. You have
I'm
too
so
many.
proud of you.
Ilana.Dunn on Instagram. And yeah, and can I plug myself too? If
Of
anyone needs a
course.
therapist in New
Please
York.
plug
Carly's
yourself.
accepting new clients.
accepting new
And
clients.
she's amazing.
Yes, so
Seriously,
I've heard.
like I get free therapy from her every single day. And
Yeah.
like I
Everyone
am
just
so,
got free therapy for her right now.
But like I cannot possibly think of a better person to be suited for like helping you navigate whatever you're going through in
Second
your
that,
life, whether it's
100%.
post grad, 20s, 30s, career, dating,
Wow.
like moving to a new city. Like Carly is just the most supportive and understanding and
I love that I plugged
gets
myself.
you. And
Thanks.
yeah.
Thanks. This was so fun.
I
Love
know.
you.
Thank you guys. Love you. Bye. Oh, and you can follow. I'm like, make sure you subscribe to Real on YouTube. I still don't know how to do this. Yeah, sorry. Subscribe to my YouTube if you haven't already. Be sure to give a 5-star rating and review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And follow me at Carly_Weinstein at Real with CW on Instagram. And I love you guys, and I will see you in the next episode.
Wait, but really, like, give her a 5-star rating and review. You guys don't understand. It takes you 2 seconds, and it goes such a long way for podcast hosts. So, like, please give back. Do an act of kindness today,
Yeah, if
and
you just listen
one
to
will come back
this.
around to you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Love you.
What a wonderful world.